What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over some tips on how to score more goals. So the first tip is to make sure that you're ending your cut in the end zone. This is something that's very important and something that's actually very easy to make a mistake on. So what can happen is that you'll make your cut, and by the time you actually get open, you'll be out of the end zone. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're giving yourself enough room so that when you cut, you're still in the end zone when you're able to catch it. Tip number 2 is to make sure you're creating separation to the force side in the end zone. It's really important that you always know where the force side is. If you don't know what force side or break side is, I have a tutorial that goes over that. But basically, the break side is a lot harder to throw to than the force side. So to give yourself the best chance of scoring a goal, you want to try to create separation to the force side, because that's where you have the highest chance of getting the disc. Tip number 3 is to know the range of your throwers. It's very important that you know how far and what throws your throwers can throw. So you could be super wide open, super deep, but if your throwers can only throw 50 yards, you're never going to get the disc, or it's never going to get to you. So it's really important that you're cutting to spots on the field that your throwers can actually throw to so that you can get the disc and potentially score. Tip 4 is very similar to what we just talked about, and it's timing. In order to time your routes properly, you need to understand what your throwers can do. So let's say your throwers can throw 50 yards. In order to score, you need to run a scoring route within 50 yards of the end zone. If you take off at the 10-yard line, you won't be set up to score correctly. So you have to time your routes properly so that you get into the end zone when your throwers can actually get it to you in the end zone. Tip 5 is to look for soft spots in the defense. During the game, a defense can have a shape that has a very big weakness. Sometimes there will be soft spots where if you run to that spot, there won't be anybody else to help. You have a really high chance of scoring. So you want to look for shapes where if you run deep, there won't be anybody else to help, and you'll have a really high chance of scoring. Tip number 6 is to make sure that your routes look the same at the beginning of the route. So I have some other videos on this, but when all of your routes look the same at the beginning, it's very easy to create separation because the defender doesn't know where you're going. If you telegraph where you're going, it's much easier to defend. So the better that you're able to disguise what route you're running, the easier it's going to be to get separation and potentially score. Tip 7 is to make sure that you're using 2 hands when catching the disc. So even if you do everything correctly, you create separation to the force side, you're in the end zone, you read the disc right, it all means nothing if you drop the disc. So it's really important that you're using the best grip possible so that you give yourself the best chance of hanging on to the disc so that you can score a goal. Tip number 8 is to make sure that you're keeping your feet in bounds. A lot of goals in Ultimate happen right on the sideline, so it's very important to be aware of where your feet are so that you can keep them in bounds so that your goal counts. Tip 9 is to try to get inside position on contested catches. It's much easier to come down with the disc when you have inside position instead of when you're on the outside. When you're on the outside, you have to reach over or around someone in order to catch the disc, and this is much harder to do. You have a lower % chance of coming down with the disc. So when you can get this inside position, you want to do it because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to come down with the disc. Tip 10 is to play the rebounds. So when somebody else is in the end zone and the disc is going to them, you don't just have to stay out here and watch. What you can do is you can keep running and play the rebound so that if it's tipped, you can potentially score a goal. And that's going to be it. So like this video if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe, and be sure to share this with anyone you think could benefit from it. This is Ultimate 101, and I'll see you next time.